I want a sandwich. Now. Oh, sandwich wench. Yo, wench. Sandwich. Now. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. Oh, sandwich wench. I want a sandwich. Sandwich. Hello everyone, welcome back to another political recap stream here on the Moistski Live channel. Joining me to talk about some things no doubt will be political, because and other things not so is my scrumdiddlyumptious co-host TrupsLP. Say hello, Trups.
Hello, Trups. Do I also have to make that sound?
If you'd like to. Hiya! How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm all right. It's good that we're doing another one in a row, because we've had a few gaps over the year because, you've gotten your life back.
Yes, quite right. It's weird when you don't quite realize just how much your life can change in a brief moment because a government has said, we don't really feel like giving you your rights back.
We just don't have them. We are subject to the crown and all that, so thankfully, we don't have to worry about these trivial matters of rights and freedoms and strong economy and all that,
Oh, yes. Well, certainly not that. I don't think anybody can attest to having one of those.
I think at this present moment, it's entirely the Conservatives' fault now, though, which is quite amusing.
Is it?
Partially, mostly is. Because they're changing governments. Each time a new Prime Minister comes in, they change their economic plan. That causes fear in the market. We lose points. It happens every time. They then bring out an emergency budget, and every single time they do it, they have to borrow more money, creating a run on the pound, which in turn then causes what we are now undoubtedly in, a recession. It's just no one has the balls to say it. But anyway, before we get to that, what has TrupsLP been up to this week?
TrupsLP actually went to go see a concert.
Who'd you go see?
I went to go see Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh, nice. I know your significant other is a huge fan. I am quite the fan as well. I hope you two enjoyed yourself.
Yeah.
Did they play? Because I doubt they did. Crucify Me.
They did not.
Oh, that pisses me off so much. It's such a good song. The problem is every time they played it to the more modern audience they've catered towards, the audience has gone dead because it's from their third album, first song. It's so in your face.
I mean, they did a lot of in your face. I mean, I think. Obviously they were doing a lot of the Post-Human album, but
well, they would have to have played some of the hits off the other albums as well. The thing is, that one to me is like the best song off that third album. Off There Is a Hell, believe me, I've seen it. There Is a Heaven, Let's Keep It a Secret. Yes, I know the full title.
Oh, okay. Actually, that was one of the songs that even Ash was a little surprised they didn't play.
I mean, that no doubt would have gone with Can You Feel the Heart, Sempiternal, Shadow Moses, sorry. They would have done We Are Doomed or something, one of those ones off the fifth album. That's the spirit, that's it. They probably wouldn't have touched Suicide Season or Count Your Blessings because they're very aggressive. So I figured...
Dear Diary.
That's close enough.
Which is aggressive, you could say.
It's aggressive.
I don't know if they ever would have gone back to anything that you would have considered like very, very aggressive. But I think that it was a pretty good concert, and that was the first time I had ever seen them. So
I've
was
seen them.
pretty.
Okay, so just to give you context here, then, Trups, you've seen them now after post-human survival horror picture show. 'Cause
Mhm.
I saw them for Count Your Blessings, and it was that was when they did their very first album, and it was all the time. The venue had like 2,000 people at most. It was so aggressive, and I'd never heard of them. My housemate knew the singer, Ollie Sykes. He even came back to
Mhm.
our house afterwards. He's a twat. He just wanted Ket, yeah, and he wanted to shag my. I'll quote him. I just want to shag your Asian ass, mate. How about
Mm.
no? She good Christian girl. Keep your little tiny little cock to yourself. But it was very loud and very different to what they've become, which I think is really interesting to see the progression of their musical style.
Mhm. Well, he ended up fucking up with his voice. I presume a bit like David Draymond did, but it seems like he's gotten a little bit more confident in going back to that. I imagine when he fucked up his voice, kind of like how Disturbed went on that like 4-year hiatus where they didn't really like come out with anything new.
Oh yeah, they said it was
I
because
imagine.
they said because record sales were down. No, everyone knew David Draymond had done his voice in. Everyone knew that.
I presume something similar happened where I'm sure there's a rehab for that.
What?
It's never been my style,
So
per se.
there is some interesting techniques now. M Shadows of Avenged Sevenfold, he had to change his vocal style so the band would last longer. People didn't like that he got rid of the aggression, but he had to point out either you get the aggression and we stop making albums now, or I stop doing the aggression and we go for longer and have a bigger party. Okay. He then taught Matt Heafy of Trivium to do that because it helped his voice. Matt Tuck of Bullet for My Valentine had to learn to do it as well. In fact, live, he does not do any aggression vocals at all. Someone else does it. The bass player does it, whose name I don't know because I couldn't give a fuck about them, because they're just backing instrumentalists because Matt Tuck does everything. He's a micromanaging little bitch. But no doubt Ollie Sykes would have learnt to alter his vocal style so he could get the best out of it and last longer into as he gets older, which makes
Right.
sense. I
Yeah.
like it.
No,
It's
I
good.
had a
Fascinating.
I had a really really good time, honestly.
I'm glad you two did. Did you get a shirt at least?
I did get a shirt. Yeah, it was it's a Die For You shirt.
Nice. I
Yeah.
always buy a shirt at a gig. Always. I went through a suitcase in my cabin and I forgot that had all my gig
Mhm.
shirts in it. I had them all
That's
washed
kind of like
and
it's kind of like the thing. You kind of have to.
yeah.
I know it's like a marketing ploy, obviously, but I feel as if I'm not compelled,
Yeah.
but it's part of the memory. It's part of the experience
Oh,
to
you
get
take
like
photos.
a
You get
shirt for the
yeah.
events you go to.
I bought a Glory Hammer shirt. It was buy two get one free. So I bought my friend one.
Mhm.
I bought one. I got a free shirt. Win. I also bought a
Mhm.
belt buckle at Glory Hammer as well,
Mhm.
and I love it. I like I don't mind. I like supporting them anyway because they're smaller bands, so it's good to do that. And also, there's a fascinating musical theory about changing vocal styles, how your voice, how you alter the way your vocal cords function in your esophagus. Is that it? I don't know, that area of your
Well,
throat.
yeah. See, the thing was for me, and I could go on about this forever. So please stop me when you feel like it.
That's right. We got another hour. You're good.
When when I did all of my semi-professional singing, all of mine was it was not in metal stylings or rock stylings, but rather in like classical operatic styling. So, and I was taught by a female, which is even more different because in that case, they sing very, very differently, right? It's all up in your nose, it's resonating through your sinuses, it's a lot of that, as opposed to what a male or, it's not necessarily head voice per se, but as opposed to singing, I want to say proverbially singing with your chest, right? It's a lot more eyebrow raised kind of thing. But anyway, so I don't necessarily know what kind of stuff they have to go through in their singing
Yeah.
training. All I know is my own experience was in a very different
Yeah.
style overall.
Okay. Well, I will stop you there because I think we could go on forever about it.
Thank
And this is called
Yeah.
Political Recap Show 30th September 2022. We might have just spent 10
True.
minutes talking about music. I like that.
We usually have about 10 minutes of catch up, so
Yeah,
if you
it's
don't
handy.
like it, fuck off. At least hit the dislike on the way out.
Please do. The engagement really helps this channel.
Sure.
But also, I actually echo the sentiment because I don't care so much in this one. Okay, so what has been happening in America? And I already know the answer to this because I saw some fucking hilarious videos of Biden and Kamala Harris. Harris.
Okay. Well, the first thing is almost a well, maybe it won't be so much of an issue, but I'll put the disclaimer here anyway. I'm sitting through Hurricane Ian right now, and it's you know that picture of the bin knocked over, and it says "We will rebuild." It's been like that, but we did have a bunch of power flashes, and my internet did have a seizure a couple times. It shouldn't be an issue now, as most of the storm has died down. But I did want to just preface that. But that's been a thing that's happening in the U.S. Ian, hurricanes.
Is that the name of the hurricane?
Yeah, doesn't it sound like a fucking Call of Duty, Chad?
Fam, he sounds like a teacher.
No,
It does over here.
Teacher,
that name is very common.
If that teacher was, a former skater who, in order to get his life back, decided to go into, college for education and, wanted to shape the minds of the youth to avoid doing the same
It sounds
mistakes,
like Ian, the teaching assistant that likes to touch kids. That's what it sounds like.
Maybe in your country, but in our country, Ian just kind of sounds like a skater dude.
Ian sounds like a goalkeeper. Sounds like a freaking comedy panelist on a TV show. It is such a basic bitch name.
Except for Sir Ian McClellan, he is a national treasure.
Of course.
But that's one of the things. CNN and MSNBC have been trying really hard to politicize it. I know we talked about it before when we were talking about
are they saying Trump's dead because he's there?
No. Well, no. They tried desperately. This was actually a clip that was circulating for a hot minute. Was of CNN's Don Lemon, who was asking the National Hurricane Center
such a tosser
guy about what impact climate change has on this storm that we're seeing.
Oh, shut the fuck up about that.
Well, the National Hurricane Scientist guy, he was like, I don't think that you could reasonably say that climate change has an impact on any one singular event. And he basically would not bend to the request to have that conversation. It was bad because he follows it up with, well, I grew up there and these storms are getting worse. I want to point out that we are in the late stages of September, almost October, and we're in hurricane with I is we go alphabetical. I recall about 2 years ago, by Labor Day, we were already being evacuated. So I would say this is actually a lot nicer comparatively. I'm like, shit, we staved it off for a whole month. We're doing great. And I think there's 14 right now dead in Florida.
That's unfortunate. F for them.
It truly is. And the worst thing is, I think when it comes to evacuations in these areas, yes, some people are being absolute cockheads and, classic Florida man. He did come back, by the way. The guy who was with the long hair who was headbanged.
Really?
He did come back, yes, to do the same into Ian. It was great. He did it to Pantera this time.
I didn't see that because I only saw I showed you the video. I saw a guy do a bong instead with a gigantic beard, and the wind was blowing this thing around. It was flowing in the wind. I was just like, doing to Scorpion, Hurricane.
Yeah.
Like, come on, it's a banging tune.
So yeah, while some people are like that, certainly, the other truth is that there are people who literally cannot evacuate, whether due to medical conditions or something of the sort. And it's usually those who end up accidentally losing their lives. And that is in fact, the tragedy. Um, there's also the people who just don't know any better and they drive into water. They don't know how deep it is, and they're like, wow, I can't believe my car just started floating away.
That reminds me of a monster truck video I saw of people on top of a monster truck and like some kind of bus part, like akin to that on a pickup truck, and they were driving through this massive freaking ditch or puddle, and the whole thing submerged and the Titanic flute music started playing. It was glorious.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Very American, and I loved it.
So the political aspects of that is just basically they're trying so desperately to politicize every natural event. And we're going to see it happen again as we approach fall and the dry season kicks in, and people in in California suddenly are like, wow, it's fire. Again, I wonder if climate change has anything to do with this. Not our shitty forestry policies, but climate change. That's right.
Everything is climate change. Thing is, these people keep saying this, and I find it quite fascinating. They can constantly complain about climate change. Okay, now tell me the solution. Because you keep on saying this is the fault of climate change. Okay, how do we prevent it? How do we reduce it? Do we all go electric, which will cost massive amounts of money that you don't have to then develop the solar, the wind, the cars, the batteries, which in turn will deplete the resources even faster in that area because there isn't enough. I think you dickheads, and you know I'm right. So why say it unless you have a solution for it? If you're news, I get you just cover it and you're reporting on it. But others that say this all the time, like governments or activists, never present a solution, and not one that's feasible.
I've got a better one for you. Okay, what would have happened, right? Let's say that if we had like passed Biden's policies, Green New Deal policies
back
a few
years
ago, would we have seen, instead of a Cat 3 hitting Florida, would we have seen a Cat 1?
It would have been a mild breeze because Biden is your hero.
What is the metric, right? Like, what is and this is the part that I don't like about the actual quote unquote science behind a lot of this is what is the metric by which we are establishing these are getting worse or better? Is it the frequency by which we are seeing hurricanes, the intensity of those hurricanes? What actually is and I think what it actually comes down to, like, to their credit, it's a combination of all these things. But okay, so if we had reduced our carbon footprint, what would have been the impact? Well, they can't answer that because they have no fucking idea.
In this instance, I honestly don't see them as problem solvers. They just they're the king contrarians that always have to find a problem.
Oh, absolutely. And you'll never actually get the desired thing from them. You'll never be able to answer them correctly. They will always have an issue with how you have presented this information.
they're the CM Punk of climate activism. Always has to see the. I do too, but you always saw the negative in everything. That type of person, I love it because it has to be someone like that. It's just a shame with climate activists that all of them.
True. Well, unfortunately, we cannot get rid of, the people who want to complain but never do anything about it. Okay, so that's one thing that's been happening. Okay, so did you want to talk about Biden and Kamala?
Okay. So I have seen a number of videos this week of Biden yet again getting lost on stage. First of all, I'll tell you one thing I found this hilarious. He met Elton John, and during this PBS NewsHour, he said to him, when he was shaking Elton John's hand, he said, "It's all his fault. We are spending $6 billion in taxpayer dollars on HIV and AIDS this month." Fam, That is not the compliment you think it is, and there's no one. And honestly, but at no point does Elton John smile.
No, he does not.
How about when Joe Biden looked at an audience member and said, "We go back a long way. She was 12 and I was 30."
Oh no. I'm.
Or how about, because I'm not done, Biden gave a speech at FEMA, and instead of going down the route where there are two people to his left, our right, he decided to go and walk off down another place entirely, get lost, and they had to go and retrieve him because he didn't know where he was going, and he was shaking people's hands completely confused.
They've been okay. Look, he has had this problem since he got into office. Like, I remember that there were clips from the very start of his presidency where people were just like, "All right, there goes Biden. All right, somebody go pick him up. Secret Service.
We beat Trump. We beat Trump. Can someone now please take over for him and do the job?" You know, it's so funny. Honestly, the video of him saying, he was 12 and I was 30. In my head, I was like, I follow a number of nonce hunting channels. Yeah,
great.
I desperately wanted to like tag them and be like, "Yo, I've got one. Do you guys want to go to the White House for a video?" The one where he said that thing to Elton John, you could see in Elton John's head he was having an existential crisis. Like, I can't be seen shitting on this guy, but I desperately want to slap him for this.
Well, I mean, the other thing is you got to remember this man is old. He is a product of an older generation and an older time. It does not shock me that his opinions, especially of the gays in this case, may be a little fucking dated. And
I think it's just poor choice of words, really. It's his fault. I think he thought it was some light humor, but you just said it's his fault we're spending $6 billion taxpayer dollars on HIV and AIDS. Fam.
Right. It sounds like he's the cause of the AIDS.
Yeah. Elton, everyone, disclaimer, we don't believe this to be true, but I'm about to say it anyway.
No, I love Elton John.
Elton John causes AIDS. He does not, but he totally does, apparently. I will admit I did cry with laughter when I saw that.
I shy away from it.
And then the fucking FEMA video. The thing is, there's a guy and a woman next to him, and people zoned in on the guy because the moment Biden walked stage right towards random people, the guy's eyes, who was to his left, got wide. Like, oh shit, Biden's off. He took him off his leash.
Catch him!
Yeah, quick, Secret Service, take him down.
Oh dear.
He was in enemy territory at that moment at FEMA.
Somebody please go collect the president of the United States. You remember how they used to make a bunch of like jokes about George Bush being that way?
He walked into a closet once, didn't he?
Yeah.
No one's doing that right now when they should be. Come on, Bush was hilarious because of his gaffes. Didn't someone throw a shoe at him?
Yeah, but also he took it well.
Man, the guy had a funny bone.
Yeah, and he thought it was... I mean, even when he got his shoe thrown at him, he was like, I guess someone doesn't like me very much.
Yeah, no, he no one can forgive him for certain things.
Yeah, totally.
But at least people gave him shit. No one's giving Biden shit because they know why. Same patronizing reason why. Because you can't beat an old man when he's down like this. By the way, he's not said. To be honest, arguably he hasn't. He has said the dumbest stuff, but his VP is not doing any better.
Oh no, she's fucking worse.
Kamala Harris. The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. Now, first of all, if anyone did anything to try and broker, conversation, sure as fuck wasn't her. Because if anything, they tried to walk away from what Trump had started. As far as like peace in the Middle East went as well, who accomplished more?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not even a question. Fucking Donald Trump, as the first president to cross the line between North Korea and South Korea. Yeah, thank you. I mean, brokering historic fucking peace agreements between Arab nations and Israel. I mean, since Israel's inception, like since its creation as a country, it has been at fucking war with its neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they're official wars or not is not the question. The problem is that everybody around them wants to kill them.
Oh, there is that. I do think that you are. It's because everyone is murking and mocking the fuck out of Harris. It's only a matter of time for more outlets around the world to start to do it to Biden as well. They've got to. You can't keep ignoring the fact this guy is falling over all the time, getting lost. He is just a meme machine at this point, and I can't tell who's more incompetent for office at this point, him or Vladimir Putin. Because they're both he's just such a fucking idiot. Although I still think that not enough people latched onto the "she was 12, I was 30" comment.
I still think that I would say that Biden is probably more worse off because I don't know if there's any instances where Putin just kind of wanders.
Putin at the moment has been doing a lot of interviews with other people, sitting down with other dictators, and he is showing clear signs of tremors and clear strains in his hands and legs that are not going anywhere. And this has led many to speculate because now he's having to conscript so many people, and so many people are fleeing because they don't want to be conscripted into this fight.
Because he called up reservists.
Okay,
they already existed.
So a noteworthy name that I know of is a former boxer. His name is Nikolai Valuev. Now, Nikolai Valuev is a 49-year-old Russian politician. He was the WBA heavyweight champion. He held the belt twice, in fact. But he was called up to fight Ukraine. Right? The man is 7 foot something. He is big. He is slow. He's 49, and he is being called up to fight against Ukraine. Are you out of your mind? He was beaten by a guy who is marginally taller than me. He's early 6 foot something. David Hay nearly knocked him out. I'm sorry, you're desperate if you're calling up a politician for the state of Duma. It's not going to work. You're just picking up really old big guinea pigs to throw at the enemy. And Putin knows this. He's losing. He was talking to Lukashenko, who is the dictator for Belarus, charitably dubbed a Belarusian president. No, he's a dictator. He tastes Putin's dick. And in this, Lukashenko ranted about men who ran away, saying, let them, because you don't want them to fight for you anyway. But this mobilizing that the Kremlin have done guarantees 300,000 new troops to go fight Ukraine. How fucking shit are your troops that you have to conscript 300,000? How crap are they that you have to get that many? You are just throwing cannon fodder, right?
I mean, when you have the entirety of the NATO alliance basically giving them, giving the Ukrainians, every which way worth of military aid from the last 30 years, right? It does not surprise me per se that they need to call up more people because suddenly we thought we were going to fight against this nation that didn't have shit, and now by the way, you're fighting the entire U.S., German, and UK arsenal from 1990.
Well, what I find fascinating is there are queues to get into Georgia that can be seen from satellite in orbit. People desperately trying to get out of Russia so they don't get conscripted. People are now starting to protest in Russia because they don't want this war to happen anyway. Russia are trying to introduce a completely illegal by-election to referendum to get people to vote on whether they want to be a part of Russia or Ukraine. The answer won't be obvious because they've annexed these regions anyway. It's absolute nonsense. Oh, and by the way, you've sent $12 billion worth of military aid to Ukraine, haven't you?
We keep doing it again.
Just thought
we just signed up. I think we just signed up for another 18 million.
16, wasn't it?
Billion, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Well, either way,
something in the.
You guys are doing your bit, right?
Now, here's the thing, though. So they've started talking about Putin may start using.
Nuclear?
Yeah. smaller tactical nuclear strikes in Ukraine, which, I mean,
Rendered
let's
land
be honest.
useless.
Let's be honest. What would the rest of the world do?
Well, hadn't somebody who spoke for America already said if he did that, it would put it would be something. It was something catastrophic, or a catastrophic. It would imply that America would actually get involved.
Mm-hmm.
It was a remark. I'd have to quickly look it up. Oh,
That's okay. I mean, because the reasonably speaking, like you know how some people in hindsight look back at like World War One, World War Two, especially from the United States point of view.
oh, here it is.
And, you know,
U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Grenfell, told the UN Security Council a nuclear catastrophe at Ukraine's whatever, something in Ukraine would cause blah blah blah. Oh, sorry. A world-avoided catastrophe by the grace of God after Russia shelled a I can't even pronounce this. There's like 3 fucking Z's in this word. Okay. A plant, basically.
it's an energy station, isn't it?
Yeah. A power station. But if they did go to nuclear, I do believe I had seen something that would indicate that they would US would actually get involved.
Well, right, and the thing that a lot of United States people are now considering is, hold on a second, we are not them. We are not Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
We had just done a prisoner swap, I think it was a week or 2 ago.
Yeah, I remember.
That included American citizens. What the fuck, guys? We are not engaged in a war with Russia.
Apparently, you're the world police still.
We are.
Apparently, you're the world police.
Well, we need to stop it.
We had this discussion before, oddly enough.
I've hated the idea that the United States have asserted themselves as the world police, or that they have to get involved in everybody else's fucking business. I would much rather we just do our own thing, take care of our own citizens, and when our allies, which we have actual treaties in place, are threatened, then we do something. We don't have that with Ukraine.
I can imagine that'd be one of the very first things, but if this ends, Biden would be like, look at me, I've got a treaty with these guys, look at me. I'm asleep now.
Mm-hmm. It's either going to be that, or they're going to get, added to NATO, at which point then, NATO has an obligation to defend its members, right?
Well, if it joins the EU as well.
Right, same thing. But again, this is not right now. Like, this is not the case that we are currently engaged with. So why are we acting as if it is? The fact that we're sending so much, I understand. Like, we're sending aid, but billions. I mean, billions of dollars worth of supplies and artillery and all this, and it makes you really wonder, what the fuck do we have interest-wise in Ukraine to justify such a thing? Because I understand we sent a lot of stuff when it came to World War II. The United States was bankrolling both Russia and the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, I kind of get it. Like, Germany was just going ham, and we had an obligation in that case because we had established. I think it was the League of Nations at that point.
Yeah.
We had established a treaty of sorts, but not until Japan decided they wanted to spit on us did we actually get involved in the armed conflict.
Japan always confused me in wars. They always confused me. I was like, why the fuck are you even getting involved, you pricks?
Well, right now, you have a lot of people who are very, very concerned with... you saw the article about the Nord Stream 1 pipeline.
Yeah, the gas thing, yeah.
Getting totally not sabotaged or totally not blown up by totally not us.
I'd heard about that.
There's no fucking way that Russia bombed their own fucking pipeline.
So that was the thing going around, that it was Russia that did it. I had to sit back and go, bitch, There's literally no benefit to that.
No way.
There's no benefit to that. Shut the fuck up. Let it bother.
Yeah, there's absolutely no fucking way that Russia felt the need to bomb a pipeline of which they control the in.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point. Why on earth would they ever fucking do that?
There's no reason to.
Right. Unless they're trying to, like, play a very, very long con, but I cannot believe that that's the case, because that seems far too invested in the future that may or may not even come to fruition.
I don't even know what would the point be. Like, seriously.
It would be to basically say that,
no, I mean Russia destroying themselves, sorry.
Oh, right. Well, it would be to cause the quote-unquote false flag from their media perspective, and be able to say, oh, the United States is attacking our pipeline, our economy. We need, the conscription to go through because they're attacking us, right?
Well, of course.
That would be your possibility of a reason, but
yeah.
I don't know if it's a good enough reason for them to actually do it. I think it's a stretch.
Sounds like one, to be honest, doesn't it?
But honestly, even Spain came out and was like, we condemn the Russians blowing up their own pipeline. I'm like, fucking Spain, the shit. What the fuck are you doing here? Why? Why do you say things?
They're not the brightest. They struggle with words. They're always having a siesta, so they don't really understand anything.
Hey man, I'm Spanish. What the fuck?
Always, and they're just abusing paellas. They don't know what they're doing. Okay.
I mean, no, I think that we are primed for an actual world conflict, and I don't see this going away nicely.
Sadly, I agree, but I certainly hope not, because I'd rather not be involved.
Right.
Especially if there's a risk of speaking Russian in the future. God.
Yeah, well, I think right now everybody kind of has to come to the possibility, or at least accept that possibility exists, that things may go the wrong way.
I'd hate for history books to have a World War III listed. I would hate that, but because I just, you'd like to believe that those scales of wars just don't happen anymore. And I wouldn't want it to happen again.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
I don't mind if people have a fight. Go for it. Go nuts. I don't care. But, do it somewhere else. Go do it in the Antarctic. I don't give a shit. Just leave the polar bears out of it. Fuck the penguins. Kill them.
Yeah. I see SH in the chat. Yeah, that was strange. Everything's randomly catching fire and blowing up. You see that Paris had a produce... a fire in a produce store or a produce warehouse?
No, I did not. Tell me about it.
I don't know all that much. All I know is that there was a report that there was a large produce fire.
You're kidding.
A fire in a... Yeah, no, I'm not. It's...
Oh dear. That's unfortunate. I like this.
That's what he means when he says, oh yeah, things are just, randomly blowing up and shit. Yeah, weird. Fucking bizarre, man. Crazy.
Somewhat interesting, I'll give you that. I just don't want England to get bombed again, Chaos. Of course I don't want England to get bombed again, because I live in England. Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, go nuts. Go nuts, I don't care. Just make sure I get all my whiskey first, so I don't go, thirsty for a while. Last thing I want is to be stuck with, Glenfiddich 12.
I don't know what that is.
Basic bitch whiskey. Okay, so...
We have military special.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought...
Disgusting.
I mean, I would just consider your equivalent to Glenfiddich 12 to be Jack Daniels. Not in flavour, just that basic bitch territory.
You don't... If you don't know what military special is, you are a wiser man.
Let's go and have a look at... Let's go Google.
Ugh.
Military Special Forces. No. Drink.
Yeah. Do you like military special? They have basically all of the different...
They got rum as well.
Disgusting. It's basically the shit that they would send to
Oh, we don't really sell it here, I'm afraid.
Soldiers.
Oh, I can tell. The name gives it away a little bit.
Yeah, but like it's just basically just straight, just alcohol, and there's no like smoothness to it. It's just pain.
I like that in my recommended Google search, I get muscle fuel anabolics. That's what I get instead of your
Interesting.
and oat milk.
Oh, good.
That's total. Oh, and a Jaeger bomb, of course.
Oh, yes, of course.
Right then, Google Foo is on my side. Your drink must be well, we don't really sell across the ocean. Oh, excuse me.
I don't want you to ever find out, honestly.
Oh, that's quite alright. I've had bad drinks in the past. We're good.
I know, but because of Ricada. True, he'll tell you all about how disgusting that shit is.
It's R-E-K.
Nick Ricada.
Yeah, the spelling of Ricada there was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It triggers me.
It's fine. It's fine.
So, Sarina in the chat has asked me my thoughts on recent UK polls. In the UK polls recently, Labour are 20 to 29 points above Conservatives in opinion polls. Reason why is because this week has been the worst economic week for the Conservatives in quite some time. The reason why is because their Chancellor, whose name I still don't know how to pronounce, spelled Kwasi, that's his first name, his last name, Kwarteng. I haven't even bothered listening to him in interviews, so I've never heard anyone say his name yet. So let's just call him KK.
Oh dear.
I'm hoping. Close. I'm so hoping. Hang on. Let's quickly check. Let's find out what his middle name is. Oh, it's A. Sorry, it's it. Oh no, his first name's AK. So I'll call him AK. There we go. Call him Kalashnikov. Perfect. Kalashnikov did a mini budget for the Conservatives. He's the new Chancellor, and Kalashnikov has essentially what he's done is he has done something so monumentally stupid that it only benefits the top 10% richest people in this country.
Right.
And to do this, he's also risking harming people who are on the lowest income, because to pay for a number of things he has done already, he may well have to cut people's welfare so it's even harder for them to get by, so that they are forced into work that doesn't exist, or they struggle altogether, or they don't live at all, to pay for what he is trying to do. Dividends and borrowing, lots of borrowing. It's quite strange for me for a government that, when it came into office, had to introduce austerity to get the budget, the borrowing down, to clear our debt, so we had money. Because ever since austerity ended, it appears governments are just going knucking futs and constantly borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. And Kalashnikov's plan really is, I'm going to stimulate the economy by incentivizing the richest to do more, but pay less into a system. For example, I believe somebody had indicated with a £1 million payout they've got, their tax would only be akin to that of 55,000, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. I just don't have the article for it, do I? I'm an idiot. I closed it, didn't I? I did. That's clever. I thought that was very interesting, because it genuinely looks like this guy's genuinely trying to crush the economy before he gets voted out of office. So we also have... Okay, so just show you what's happened. Yields on 10-year gilts, so they're government bonds where we borrow from those gilts and pay back over a certain amount of time, and then pay it back in full at the end of that time. Rose from 3.5% to 4.3%. They've now fallen back down to 4.05%. So they're clearly on the path to recovery, everyone. Those yields, though, they affect the cost of borrowing to an issuer. In this case, it's the UK government. So much so, the Bank of England had to step in and say, we're going to have to save you before everyone who has a mortgage is fooked. Like, literally, fooked. Because the pound plummeted to levels it has never been, which in many respects is quite bad, They haven't solved the energy problem at all. They think they're freezing it. Actually, that's not what they're doing. They introduced an energy cap of 2,500. That doesn't mean if you exceed it, you don't pay it. It just means that's where they're setting the bar. That doesn't mean shit then, does it? Especially if the energy companies increase that amount and you have less to use, right? I a bit concerned about this current thing because many believe that the only way forward, because of Labour being in the position they're in, is to call for an immediate election. Problem is, Liz Truss has only just got in. She hasn't had a chance to do anything. First thing she does is appoint a chancellor who wants to solely benefit wealthy friends, which couldn't be more conservative if you tried. And that's quite amusing, really, because Liz Truss herself started off as a liberal and is a perpetual flip-flop, yet now is seen as a conservative fundamentalist, solely in positions where she will intentionally only benefit those who are the wealthiest in this nation. And so far, what she has done looks like that. Mm-hmm. And they are hedging their bets. They're hedging their bets that the economy will grow because of what they're trying to do. Well, thing is, you're hedging your bets, and within a week, the pound was at its weakest. The Bank of England had to step in and do something financially. It involved like £65 billion to do, or threaten to do something to help. The what they called the budget of office responsibility were never contacted about this emergency mini budget, and they're not going to publish their report till next week because Kalashnikov has stopped them from publishing it early. Why? Because undoubtedly they would have told him, your plan might not work. Because he's introduced the plan and he's implemented it straight away, it has caused shock and negative growth. The Bank of England have already said that the entire country is in a recession, but the government won't admit it. And Liz Truss's only thing forward is, well, we have to try something. And Labour could have easily pulled the trigger on this and said, no confidence, we'll get an election. Problem is, Conservatives in this will then just suddenly say, no, we're all united now. Because that's what they'll do. They'll get behind their Prime Minister because they have a majority. We have to survive this for 2 years. Labour aren't doing much to push, but even if they did, what could they do? Because Labour's policies have always been to borrow, and then spend. And then tax into oblivion, but that doesn't actually solve the problem. It's short-term return. Now, in one respect, you could argue what Liz Truss is trying to do is a long-term plan. Problem is, she has a short-term problem that requires a short-term solution, not one that's thinking 10 years down the line, where the only people that actually benefit now are her wealthiest friends who could then just leave the country the moment she's voted out of office and take their money with them. Which she knows will happen. She knows she's screwed. She's barely been in office for 2 weeks. The only thing that happened in her career of interest, or month even, the only thing that's happened in her career that will be noteworthy in the future isn't that she contributed towards tanking the economy, is that she gave a pointless speech at the Queen's funeral that should have just been Boris Johnson anyway. This has been my TED Talk. Thank you for listening.
I was going to say, do you feel better?
It's quite cathartic, I will admit.
That's good.
Oh, here we are. The Bank of England triggered an emergency £65 billion bond buying program to stem the crisis triggered by Liz Truss and Kalashnikov's growth plan. This plan of theirs, by the way, this is why they did it. It wasn't housing. The reason the Bank of England stepped in was because Liz Truss and Kalashnikov's plan puts the entire nation's pension funds at risk of insolvency. Can you imagine what happens if that had happened? That wouldn't just be, oh, by the way, if you're old, you're going to die. That would be, oh, well, I guess you'll all have to get jobs as well. That would be and it's mostly older people that vote Conservative anyway. Are you sure you want them to not vote for you?
No, we're not sure.
Anyway,
we don't know actually what we want. Really.
Well, at this point, who does? It's absolutely comical, quite frankly. Oh, actually, on that note, on the subject of comical, I hear a female Mussolini's been elected to high office in Italy.
Yeah, and you know how many fucking people are upset and are now, you don't remember?
They're boycotting Olive Garden because it has Italian's name.
Are they really? Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not joking. I have an article for it. I saved it for a video and I forgot to use it. It was so. Oh, I have to go find it. But yes, it is true. Somebody had actually said they were going to boycott Olive Garden because of it. Let me see. I'll have a little look because I know it exists. Oh, Jesus.
God, that is actually infuriating.
Boycotting. Oh, it might be fake. Might be fake.
Oh, thank God.
Might be fake.
I was starting to lose all faith in the world.
Okay, let's see. A satirical tweet.
I didn't have much to begin with.
Yeah, Reuters. That one.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Bless you.
It is. Thank you. It is believed to be satire. I will offer my correction, but I will admit I heard about the Mussolini thing as well because of that, and it's on a server, by the way. It cracked me up to no end. Just, it's funny. It's very funny, but it wasn't just that tweet. It was other things as well I saw. But I did see, like, thing is, there's a video of her giving speeches explaining before she was elected what she wanted to do and why she wanted to do it. And to be honest, she just sounded like not necessarily a nationalist, but somebody who genuinely cared about her country and wanted to be sure her country was put first, and that, for example, her country's security wasn't being determined by other nations within a conglomerate like the UN. And I'm sat back thinking, yeah, that's actually your thing. If you want to agree to some basic rules, if your country agrees to it, sure, but otherwise, no, you have your own voice, your own nation. You're responsible to protect your country and your country's interests. And she has some valid points in that. The translation was pretty accurate. I enjoyed it. It was this is what was going to happen. It was always going to happen. It was going to happen because people are getting sick of this very, oh, you can't be right-wing mentality in Europe. There's nothing wrong with being right-leaning. There really isn't. I'm not. I don't give a shit. But, well, I'm obviously a far-right, was it paranoid delusional fuckwit as well.
You.
Yeah, right. That's apparently what I am anyway. But I'm not. I don't give a shit. I think that in this instance, though, there's only so much time that can pass with you being this left side and constantly seen as that.
It's exhausting.
It must be, because it's also boring. Also, don't forget here, you have is it Berlusconi? Is that what his fucking name was? With his bunga parties?
What?
Silvio Berlusconi. He was he was Italian. He served as prime minister in 4 governments from 94 to 95, 2001 to 2006, and 2008 to 2011. The man is like 86 years old, and because of the surgeries he's done, he does not look it. Right? He's done all right. Hang on, wait, is he dating the current prime minister? Oh no. Marta Fascina is his partner. She's like 32. Fucking hell, she's actually dating her granddad. And she's a member of the Chamber of Deputies. Yeah, no, it's fine. I just think it's really, because he was the epitome of corruption in Italian politics.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got somebody standing up and saying, no, we need to be more, we need to put our country, Italy, first. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make them Mussolini. No, it means they care about what happens to Italia.
But you're not allowed to care about your country. If you're not for the one world politic, you're wrong and you're right wing and you're a racist or something.
That's true. I just want to see more countries embrace the fact that there's nothing wrong with being right-leaning. Because you see that, for example, a great example of a country that refuses is, and I'm not saying this because I'm not at all right-leaning, shut the fuck up. The greatest example is Germany. They're terrified of it because of their past, and I fully understand that. But there's only so much your country can tolerate before it starts to create a minor right-leaning following. If it doesn't already have it, it's just never spoken of on the international stage because, well, you had Merkel for what? I don't know how many years, but she turned into a toad when she was there.
I think, unfortunately, what ends up happening, though, is if you continue to basically shy away from the nationalistic policies, because that's really what it is. It's not like right-leaning or anything. It's I have faith in my country, and I want to see it more than other countries do well.
There was always a belief that when like Hungary had its elections, it would lean more right with populism. It was the same with Italy, actually. People thought they'd go more right-leaning populism as well. And I think there may be a point there as well, to be honest. I don't know enough about this new leader's policies to know what she actually is.
Mm-hmm.
I was just fascinated by people being triggered to shit over it.
I don't think that many of the people complaining really know what the fuck she's about. Because I have seen so much. I've seen so much about, she's terrible, but they can't seem to explain to me what it is she did. And I know this is, it's just part and parcel of the shit that we go through as, as commentators or as people sitting in the middle of things. But it is so horribly frustrating to try and like give people the benefit of the doubt. The idea of steel manning the argument, whatever.
Yeah.
It's so hard when the argument doesn't even fucking exist. Like, there is none. It's just they're bad. Why? Because I said so. It's the shit that pissed me off, like being a young person, being a rebel against the parents, right? Mom, why can't I do this? Because I said so. Well, that's not a very good reason.
It's typically why children, a lot of children do vote against what their parents vote. Because if they don't have that good relationship, they're always going to vote away from it.
Right. And it is exactly like because of that precise thing that I just explained.
Yeah.
It's not contrarian per se, but it is a bit.
It certainly comes across that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's like it's channeling that kind of energy, or it's like, well, I just don't want to do the things they do. Now, sometimes people have like genuine good reasons why they don't, agree, and that's fine. But when they're able to articulate it, I'm much more inclined to like agree and be able to go, oh yeah, I see where you're coming from. Blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
When they can't do that, it's literally I can't even take you seriously as if you have real thoughts.
Don't think any of them
you can articulate to me why you think the way you do.
The problem they've got is a lot of their thought comes from being a very casual observer, not somebody that's actually gotten involved and really looked at the nitty-gritty. They've instead just glossed over what they saw in whichever left-leaning tabloid they frequent and thought, well, this is all I need. They haven't given... It's where they lack, and I obviously don't like this word that much, but they lack that skepticism that comes with critical thought.
Mm-hmm.
Trademark on the skeptic word, of course.
Yeah, I was going to say, the skeptic clone coming back.
Yeah, I felt it for a moment there. But it's that same problem. And if you can't objectively look at some things, then I think you are setting yourself up for failure. But in turn, you become the very problem you are against. When Trump was in office, he liked to rail on people for fake news. And yet, because you're not willing to look at all the information, you yourself risk peddling fake news because it's filled with your own bias only determined from one source. That's why for video things I do, I normally link multiple sources from different perspectives, solely because I want you to have the opportunity to see it all for yourself. Not that anyone does, but it'd be nice if people did. It would help them a lot understand a perspective that I try to present. I think it's important for people to do it because it shows you then have... you're not a casual observer. You are an invested observer. And I think that's a distinction that many would probably prefer to just being this blind, deluded follower who's not giving anything the time it deserves. And we're not in a hurry here. People say life is short. That's a load of bollocks. You have plenty of time. You just make every excuse why you can't do something and not give one good reason why you can actually try and understand a different opinion.
True, very true.
This is my second TED talk.
Words of wisdom. from Omegon, truly.
I have these lucid moments. I
Um,
take advantage of them. Okay.
mhm. That's honestly that's really fair. So there was a hold on. Let me see if I can pull up the article real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a very interesting thing that I saw on I forget whose channel. I think it was Memeology.
Oh, was that thing with
Uh,
Pelosi?
yeah. So
Didn't she get
yeah.
like waylaid by a bunch of people recently who shouted her down? Or was that not? Was
Yeah.
that?
She went to a thing in New York, and she got basically shouted down by everybody. They booed her essentially. And the person who was filming the video was like, "Why are they booing her? It's Nancy Pelosi." It's like,
She's not a hero.
because she's probably trash. Is probably the reason.
No,
Yeah.
she is a hypocrite, and she is actually trash. Also, why is she still in office?
Because
Since she retired, she still hasn't.
probably because you could never get a Democrat out of that seat, and also there are some comments about how she has a bunch of connections into that area, and that she and her family have held it for so long, and Gavin Newsom is actually partially related to her, and there's a whole bunch of interesting little red lines
You're telling me
you can
some
go
form
down
of
if you really want
collusion involved? How strange.
to. One could say that. One
Ah,
could say that, indeed.
how peculiar.
Yes, indeed. Um, that being said, we don't peddle conspiracies here. Only things that we can objectively point out. We totally have never done any conspiracy stuff ever before, and it wasn't my fault.
But it totally was.
It's like, and the narrator, and it was his
Yeah,
fault.
yeah, yeah. Oh, bollocks. I've knocked the USB cable out. Hang on a second. Give it a second. Da-da-da. Perfect. There we go.
Right before this stream had started was it was talking about how we are needing a stronger immigration policy. And now I know this is shocking because
2 million people have, come into your country this year alone.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say it sounds shocking because that doesn't sound like a very Democrat thing to advocate for, but alas, it is. And apparently, the way she then phrased it is she then proceeded to explain that the farmers down in Florida really could use the labor of these migrants.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly that.
That happens. DeSantis is shuttling those bastards straight to New York and saying, no, you can use them for farming in Manhattan.
But yeah, it was very reminiscent of that time that somebody on the fucking View got called out for saying, if you deport all the Mexicans, who's going to be cleaning your toilets?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're scumbags, remember?
These are the people that are supposedly the heroes, as opposed to
they're the ones who are better than you.
The dreaded Trumper who is still dealing with the Mar-a-Lago document thing.
Yeah, which I've stopped paying attention to. And funny enough, MSNBC has not been reporting on it too much either, which is because, Ian was more important. And also they were worried about the Ginny Thomas interview with the January 6th committee. Yeah, so there was this, I will call it a conspiracy, because they actually genuinely believe this was the actual definition of the word conspiracy. That Ginny Thomas, the wife of Clarence Thomas, was working with Donald Trump in helping them figure out, or pushing Donald Trump to do the January 6th thing, and trying to figure out information and all that.
Is that the person who it was alleged somebody in the White House had phone called during the siege of Capitol Hill?
I believe so, something like that.
Okay,
yeah.
So I didn't know the names involved. I just remember hearing there was a rumor a phone call was made from the White House during this event, and I was like, Can I have more information? Because I'm getting jack shit from this.
Yeah, so one of the issues that they had was that Ginny Thomas called Donald Trump like during the whole thing, and they were like, it must mean that they're colluding together and they are dangerous to democracy for reasons.
I mean, he could have been calling him to say, can you guys go home, please?
Well, right. And so basically they were, and what's also interesting about this whole thing is that, of course, they're calling up the only person who is in an interracial marriage.
Wow.
So Clarence Thomas being the black judge who Joe Biden had chastised when he was getting confirmed, right? Yeah, so that's Clarence Thomas, and he was the one who made a lot of people very upset with their opinion, his opinion on the Roe v. Wade.
Well, he's the wrong kind of black, obviously.
Basically, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Ginny Thomas is apparently part of this problem, and they needed to question her. Now, of course, what came of the Ginny Thomas interview, you might add, she said she didn't do it. She said, like, no, I didn't do the things that you're accusing me of. Hold on, let me see if I can get the actual comments that she had made, because it's... let's see here. Exposed. I just typed in Ginny Thomas, and I see Yahoo News. Exposed. What Clarence and Ginny Thomas talk about when they're alone. Who cares? Okay, let's see here.
Why would anyone care? They're an old couple. Who gives a shit?
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Ginny Thomas said, Clarence was completely unaware of my text with Mark Meadows until this committee leaked them to the press while he was in a hospital bed fighting an infection, Thomas said in an opening statement to the committee, according to CBS.
Right.
Let's see. They texted Mark Meadows, who was Trump's chief of staff. Help this great president stand firm. Mark, you are the leader with him who is standing for America's constitutional governance at the precipice. The majority knows Biden and the left is attempting the greatest heist of our history. And she had also emailed Arizona lawmakers, urging them to, quote, do their constitutional duty and appoint a clean slate of electors for the state, according to, I presume that is the Washington Post.
Fine, thank you for being here.
So, basically, they're bitching and moaning that she dared speak with there's a word, there's a common like theme or thing about the people, the untouchables. There you go. She communicated with untouchables.
You make them sound like they're from an Indian caste.
Yeah, basically. If you work with the Republicans, you are helping the untouchables and the people who are responsible for the worst attack on our democracy in history. Right. Yes.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so they're doing that. Let's see what else was going on this week, because not being around was a bit of an issue. Yep, the gas lines that we talked about. Let's see here. Hurricane, yep.
Russia.
Oh,
UK.
There was this thing that Jen Psaki had said.
Oh god, what's she said now?
So Jen Psaki is now an NBC News contributor, and she had made the claim on NBC News that the biggest threat facing Democrats in this midterm, which is only like a month away, is the crime problem. That Democrats are soft on crime. And basically, she said that was the biggest vulnerability for Democrats in this upcoming midterm. A reporter then asked the press secretary, the Jean-Pierre, what she thought about that statement. And basically, she said, I think you are mischaracterizing what she said. No, it was verbatim. Wasn't mischaracterized. It was exactly what she said.
There's a point to this, and it's very important to acknowledge that during their time in office, they turned a man who put a gun to a pregnant woman, a martyr, turned him into one. When I will admit the action was not ideal, but it was not portrayed the correct. It was certainly not what they said it was. To ignore the fact that his brother also did something very similar and is in prison for it.
I literally saw an ad for a George Floyd Foundation, by the way.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm sorry, they are so sensitive on certain types of crimes. They'll only ever cover things that impact minority communities and then talk about it as if that is indicative of a larger racial problem. There are problems, of course there are. But you ignore all crime and hyper-focus on a type of crime against a type of person. You are creating protected classes. And so, yes, your government is soft on crime because they play the optics game for what they believe gets them the voters.
Absolutely. And the fact that the former press secretary, right, they're coming out and saying, okay, look, if we're going to be completely real about this, this is the biggest threat facing Democrats in this coming election. If I were any kind of humble, right, I would say, okay, you know what? Let's at least, let's go with that. Let's presume that they are 100% correct. How do we fix it? Right? That's what a normal person would do.
They don't care about fixing problems, do they?
Well, no. They don't accept that those problems even exist.
True. And I'll be honest, Jen Psaki has a point about the crime thing. I think there are other issues, though, not just crime, that are going to affect you guys. State of the economy, cost of living, they're obvious. How are the employment numbers looking? What about the constant bailing out of Ukraine?
Well, yeah,
these things
these are all correct.
And I'm not saying I'm either for or against that part. It's not my business. That's America, not UK. I'm only interested in what we as the UK do. I couldn't care less what America does in that regard. I think that the cost of living and the inflation in your country, that's going to be as much of a concern as crime. In fact, possibly more so, because you may say that cost of living and inflation may well be leading or contributing towards more crime.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that that's wrong in any sense. I would say that's pretty spot on, in fact.
So I think that that's what's going to actually hurt the Democrats. But then she hasn't acknowledged that, and I think it's because perhaps she is seeing it clearly and saying that it's just crime, or she genuinely believes the Democrats' way forward is what's going to fix the economy when it's not.
I think she has a job, right? So this person is charged with the duty of attempting to spin the things that are going for this administration in a positive way.
True.
And I think she has a very difficult time doing that because the administration cannot help themselves but shoot themselves in the foot.
They are quite good at doing that, don't you think?
They literally can't stop. And it's infuriating from the outset to watch because you expect them to do something that benefits them, not always fucking gimping themselves on the way.
Well, that's why they've been doing stuff before the midterms, haven't they? They've been doing those little things just before the midterms to make it look like they're doing something. It's like, but you had 2 years to do this, and you only do it now. You are only interested in getting re-elected. You are not interested in helping the people, which is typical of any government. They're not really there to help the people at all.
Exactly. Like, of course, this is politics, right? That's just politics 101. Oh, midterms, my re-election is coming up, so I must, now, make good on the promises that I had told people when they elected me. I better do it quickly or they're not going to re-elect me. Mm-hmm. And let me do it now so it's fresh in their mind when they go to the polls. Yeah, that's exactly what is going on. And, Jen Psaki doesn't have to do that anymore because she's not the press secretary. She doesn't have to, bend the knee or pretend to be, this the spokesperson anymore because she's not.
Yeah. Question. In the
Yeah.
chat, Sunseal Silverfall has asked, hello, by the way. Hello, everyone, by the way. Thank you for smashing the like and being here. Did Biden ever finally offer aid to DeSantis over Hurricane Ian? If not, that's a point DeSantis can use against Democrats in November and in 2024.
Let's see here. Yes, one day ago, Biden did approve Florida disaster declaration. So a day ago, yes. As opposed to DeSantis, who had mobilized and called for a state of emergency about a week before Ian actually hit Florida. So he was definitely slow on the uptake.
Do you think because he's Republican, or do you think it's because he's Hispanic?
I think he's not actually the one who's making the decision, honest to God. So it would not surprise. No idea. But it's not unusual at this point to hear that the president said one thing, but the White House disagrees. So I would not be surprised to find out that.
Honestly, I just don't understand how he's in office anymore.
No one does. Literally no one does.
I said he'd manage one term at most, and you said he wouldn't survive a term.
I'm sad that I'm wrong so far.
I'm impressed that you're wrong so far.
I mean, the guy is basically on his last legs.
Those legs deserve to be kicking it back in Delaware and enjoying a nice cup of tea.
Honestly, though, I've made that I'm going to stand on that fucking hill, and I will die on this hill, that I think that he needs to be retired. He would be happier.
To be honest, he should have retired after he left office as VP.
Right, exactly. But no, they want to use him as a tool.
Those 4 years, by the way, when he wasn't vice president, normally when people take a break, they recover and recuperate. He lost the very few marbles that were functioning in his brain. Did you see the debates? Because I remember watching them. They were Spartan, and it looked like Trump was punching down.
The poor guy, literally, like...
I felt bad for him because of how much Trump was beating the crap out of him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. No. You're completely correct.
I mean, I don't know if you remember because you were drunk off your tits.
Was I?
Yeah, you were completely fucked.
I forget.
You were drinking a lot of Knob Creek that night. Then you went and played a video game on my server and fell asleep or something.
That's right. I was playing Smite.
Yeah. They all told me about it because I went to bed and then I found out and thought I should have stayed up.
Right. Yes.
That was a good stream. I enjoyed that stream. That's fun. You were fucked.
That's fine. I accept that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it was bad, and I genuinely feel bad for the man, especially because if I were a almost 80-year-old man, I would not want my final years to be being like, even if I were a relatively like larger figure, right? I would not want my final years of my life to be relegated to being chastised in the media for being a bumbling, gaffe-prone, lame duck president.
Yeah.
Like, that is the last thing that I would want for my legacy, is to be remembered that way.
By the way, just to add to his gaffes, during a speech, he was asked if a deceased congresswoman was in the audience. Jackie Walorski, state of Indiana. She passed away in August in a car crash. F for her, of course. Add that to his list of gaffes. Yep, he'll be 80 in November.
Jesus Christ, the man needs to go home.
His presidential picture looks like it was taken when he was vice president.
They probably used that picture genuinely.
And then I'll be honest, I'm looking at the Wikipedia photo as well. I swear that is not him. That is that has to be photoshooped.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it for a fucking second, dude.
I'm gonna.
All right, well,
we need to end this now. We've been going for an hour. Well, hour and 20.
Oh, you're right.
Yep. We need to go, people. I have to sleep and Trups has to eat.
True.
Are we back in next week or not?
Uh,
Maybe.
I think so.
Okay, well, I'll be doing some research streams next week anyway, just in case. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for liking. Thank you for engaging in the chat, folks. Sorry we didn't really talk to you guys much. It was...
we do appreciate it. We do watch.
It's just because we don't love you. We'll see you soon, folks. Say goodnight, Trups.
Good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.